I'm Sharon Tazwell. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. Trucks carrying humanitarian aid into Gaza have begun moving ashore after arriving through a U.S.-built floating pier. It comes as the Israeli military recovered the bodies of 3 hostages Friday from a tunnel in the enclave. Meantime, ceasefire negotiations remain at a stalemate. President Biden's national security advisor will travel to Saudi Arabia and Israel this weekend to continue talks. World's #1 golfer Scottie Scheffler was arrested early Friday, charged with a felony outside the PGA Championship in Louisville, Kentucky. Police say Scheffler tried to drive around a roadblock following a fatal accident involving a shuttle bus carrying people to the course. Scheffler returned to the course hours later to play the second round.
I feel like my head's still spinning. I can't really explain what happened this morning.
Man convicted of attacking Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer will spend 30 years in prison. A federal judge sentenced David DePape Friday. Prosecutors were seeking a 40-year prison term. DePape admitted during trial testimony that he broke into the Pelosi's home intending to hold then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi hostage. Those are your headlines now. Let's go ahead and take a look at your weather on the ones.
Hi there, I'm meteorologist Robert Santos. We are going to be tracking some storms mainly across the eastern half of the country. The most severe storms will be down in the Gulf Coast for Saturday morning and then eventually moving up to Georgia and the Carolinas as the day goes on, evening time into the Carolinas. Temperatures for Saturday, you see 70s, 80s and 90s to the south and even out in the southwest. Now, as we go through Sunday, temperatures about the same. Still dangerous heat plus humidity for Florida and Texas.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Sharon Tazwell. Relief in the Middle East. Trucks carrying humanitarian aid into Gaza have begun moving ashore after arriving through a U.S.-built floating pier. It comes as the Israeli military said Friday it recovered the bodies of 3 hostages from a tunnel in the Gaza Strip. Spectrum's Evan Kozlov reporting tonight on the ongoing conflict and where ceasefire negotiations stand.
Shani Luke, Amit Buskila, and Yitzhak Lerenter.
Daniel Hagari, a spokesman for the Israeli Defense Forces, reading the names of the 3 Israelis believed to be killed back on October 7th when Hamas terrorists attacked a music festival in southern Israel.
They were celebrating life in the Nova Music Festival, and they were murdered by Hamas.
The discovery of their bodies raising concerns about the safety of the more than 100 hostages still being held by Hamas. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu writing on Friday, "The heart breaks for the great loss." Meanwhile, deadly airstrikes continue across Gaza. The Palestinian Ministry of Health reporting 31 deaths from Israeli strikes in just 24 hours. In the north, the Israeli military says they've expanded ground operations in Jabalia, a refugee camp where they say Hamas is trying to regroup. And in the south, there's growing international concern about a possible full-scale offensive in the South Gaza city of Rafah.
We believe a major military operation into Rafah would be a mistake.
Vedant Patel, the principal deputy spokesperson for the State Department, tells Spectrum News that U.S. officials continue to warn against an offensive in Rafah, where more than 1 million Palestinians have taken up refuge.
The humanitarian situation in Gaza is incredibly dire.
Patel also highlighting a U.S.-led effort to build a floating pier off the coast of Gaza. On Friday, aid from that pier started moving ashore.
This is going to be an additive effort to the other lines of efforts we have, land routes, airdrops, other things.
Spectrum's Evan Kozlov joins us now from Washington. Evan, where do ceasefire negotiations stand just over a week after Hamas accepted a proposed deal?
Right, there was tremendous optimism when that announcement came out. It was brokered by Qatar in Egypt, but it was quickly dashed when Israel said it didn't meet any of their core demands. Since then, the negotiations have really stalled out. We have President Biden's National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan heading to Israel and Saudi Arabia to continue the conversation. That's going to be over the weekend. As for the long-term plan, Biden administration still saying that the 2-state solution could be the answer. I asked Patel whether that's realistic with everything that's going on. He said, first step is to get that ceasefire, then we could focus on the path to a 2-state solution. Sharon?
All right. Evan Kozlov in Washington. Thanks. Another round of severe weather is moving east with damaging winds and large hail possible from Louisiana to Georgia. At least 4 storm-related deaths have already been reported in Houston, Texas. A powerful system tore through the area Thursday night. Hurricane-force winds reached nearly 80 miles per hour in some parts of Texas. More than 800,000 customers lost power. The Houston Independent School District canceled classes Friday. Spectrum meteorologist Robert Santos joins us now. Robert, just devastating what's happening in parts of the country. What are we expected to see this weekend in the South?
Well, Sharon, more storms to come, and it's going to start to shift to the east. So let's get right into the timing of this. So very early, while most are asleep, southern Louisiana will start to get some of those storms, which could be severe again. Any of these storms, as the sun comes up or after, the Florida Panhandle will start to see some of this, and we could get some heavy rainfall out of this that could lead to some flash flooding. Then as we go into the noon hour, Georgia and then the Carolinas for Saturday night into early Sunday morning. Now, the rest of the day Sunday, all eyes back on Florida as more storms will be coming across. Sharon?
All right. Robert Santos in Southern California. Thanks. Controversy in Kentucky. The world's #1 golfer, Scottie Scheffler, was arrested early Friday morning trying to drive onto the golf property to prepare for his second round. The incident caught on camera, sending shockwaves throughout the sports world just hours before Scheffler was set to tee off. Spectrum News anchor Carla Redditt has the story.
Masters champion Scottie Scheffler out of custody and back on the golf course Friday, playing in the PGA Championship in Louisville, Kentucky. This after a dramatic incident starting when Scheffler drove to the Valhalla Golf Club for the second round of the tournament, according to ESPN's Jeff Darlington, who witnessed and filmed the arrest. A Louisville Metro Police Department report claims Scheffler was trying to gain access to the course when he drove in the opposite lane to avoid traffic due to an unrelated fatal crash. The report continues, saying Scheffler, quote, refused to comply and accelerated forward, dragging a detective to the ground, causing injuries to his wrist and knee.
Here's the thing. Right now, he's going to jail.
Police say Scheffler is being charged with felony second-degree assault on a police officer, third-degree criminal mischief, reckless driving, and disregarding signals from officers.
Cams, and so perhaps we have a bigger indication of that specific interaction and whether it rises to a level of a crime or whether it was a simple misunderstanding.
Scheffler posting this statement to his Instagram story, saying in part it was a very chaotic situation, considering the tragic accident that had occurred earlier, and there was a big misunderstanding of what I thought I was being asked to do. I never intended to disregard any of the instructions.
It's moving pretty fast at this time, but we'll litigate the case as it comes.
Scheffler's attorney adding in a statement, quote, we will plead not guilty. Carla Redditt, Spectrum News.
The man convicted of attacking Nancy Pelosi's husband with a hammer has been sentenced to 30 years in prison. A federal judge handed down the sentence Friday for David DePape. Jurors found the 44-year-old guilty in October of 2022 for attempting to kidnap then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and attacking her husband Paul. A spokesperson for the Pelosi family and his tremendous courage in saving his own life on the night of the attack and in testifying in this case. Speaker Pelosi and her family are immensely grateful to all who have sent love and prayers over the last 18 months as Mr. Pelosi continues his recovery. Just ahead on Spectrum News, controversy involving a justice at the Supreme Court, what some are calling for Samuel Alito to do now.
Spectrum News Plus, news from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
At Spectrum, we know how much you depend on the reliability of our products and services. Now, we've taken a new step forward in reliability by identifying potential service issues before they become a problem. If you're affected, we'll contact you and help schedule a free service appointment with one of our expert technicians. The proactive maintenance of our network is one of the many reasons Spectrum delivers the most reliable internet speeds in the nation. Spectrum, keeping you connected.
I never graduated from high school. I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
We'll be tracking some storms. The severe weather outlook is calling for a slight risk of severe weather right across portions of Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Florida. Now, the storms will be coming across while most are asleep. So overnight rain coming across the Gulf. Let's stop it right around, I'd say, 10 o'clock. So all of this will be coming across Louisiana and the Florida Panhandle. Florida Panhandle, especially right around sunrise and after. And then as we go throughout the day, Saturday through Georgia and then the Carolinas into the afternoon and the evening hours. So Charlotte, Wilmington, get ready for some of this rain to come through your area. Now, as we go through time, later on into Sunday, Florida once again will get some of those storms coming through, so we'll be watching Tampa and Florida. Now, let's go a little farther north. There will be some scattered showers here. They don't appear to be as severe as what we could see down in the Gulf. As we go through Saturday, here's 4 o'clock, into Sunday, we'll be tracking what's coming across the plains once again. And that's the reason why for Sunday, the severe weather outlook is basically putting us at a slight risk of seeing some thunderstorms there with some damaging winds and some hail possible. Certainly can't rule out some tornadoes through Kansas and Nebraska. Okay, the next 3 days here at Lexington, Kentucky, I've got a dry forecast for you and temperatures warming up. So Sunday, Monday, temperatures back into the 80s there. Cincinnati, Ohio, dry for you as well, but notice the warming conditions. Monday, 89 degrees. And your weekend in Charlotte, North Carolina, mostly rain there on Saturday on and off, but then it starts to taper off as we go throughout the day Sunday. But notice the cool down then, and then a warm up on Monday. And for Dallas, Fort Worth, here we go. As I mentioned, the heat beginning there from the weekend into next week with 90s.
Another record-setting day on Wall Street. The Dow closed above the 40,000 mark Friday for the first time in its 139-year history. It rose 134 points to close at the threshold. The Nasdaq fell Friday to just over 16,600. The S&P finished at a high above 5,300. It's time now for our daily dose of political buzz. The election clock is ticking a little more than 5 months away. And joining us now is political anchor Alex Cohen. Alex, both President Biden and former President Trump out on the campaign trail. Let's start with Biden and the black vote.
Yes, this is a vote that he definitely had the last time around. Things have shifted a bit, especially among young and male black voters. The Biden team very much aware of this. And so there's been a big push this week in a number of places to really try to appeal to black voters and, in the words of the campaign, meet them where they are at. He has been very hard at work putting together a commencement address that he'll be delivering at Morehouse College, traveling to the African American Museum. And I think what really is going to matter is how Biden gets this message. Classifying marijuana is a different drug that definitely is something that would appeal to many black voters, but he has had trouble really landing that message. And now on the other side of the aisle, you've got Donald Trump, who has the day off from court today in order to attend his son's graduation. And we have learned that he is tacking on a trip to Minnesota. And that is a state that has not been won by a Republican candidate since I was born, which is to say a very long time. But the Trump team believes that there could be a win for him in Minnesota. So it'll be very interesting to see how that visit goes.
All right, so Alex, controversy surrounding Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito. The New York Times reporting on a story about an upside-down flag outside Justice Alito's home.
Yes, and the location is key, also the date, January of 2021, and this upside-down flag being seen widely as a symbol of distress and used by those who do not believe that the election was free and fair. Now, Justice Alito was saying he didn't have anything to do with it. In fact, it was his wife who did this, and this was done in connection to an anti-Trump sign that was in a neighbor's yard. Regardless, given that the Supreme Court is weighing in on important cases dealing with the insurrection, it is troubling to many.
All right, Alex Cohen, always great to get your insight. Thanks.
Thank you.
The U.S. is struggling with a critical shortage of funeral home directors. And according to the National Funeral Directors Association, more than 60% of funeral directors are expected to retire within the next 5 years. Now, one Texas college is training the next wave of industry professionals.
Mortuary. Mary Minna is the coordinator of the mortuary science program at SAC.
This would be a mock setup. Our caskets, just so they can get an idea. Our pillars for floral arrangements.
Guiding students through their associate's degree, learning funeral directing and embalming.
We got one chance to get this right for the family because the funeral is for the living.
SAC's program has been around since the 60s, but there hasn't been a mortuary on campus until now.
We're a traditional funeral home. We just sit on a college campus.
Jennifer Floyd, the director of mortuary operations, says this is a full-service funeral home open to the public.
With cremation trending on an uprising, the U.S., these are our urns.
San Antonio College's mortuary is the first on a college campus in the country. With industry workforce shortages, Floyd says it's important for students to be prepared.
Because you can't do it over. And this is where families know that you know what you're doing.
According to the National Funeral Directors Association, more than 60% of funeral directors are expected to retire in the next 5 years, making room for the next generation of professionals.
It takes a special person. Those people are working with families in the darkest time of their life.
Working in the death care industry over 2 decades, Floyd understands the value of hands-on experience.
They get to practice with me, and if they make a mistake, I get to critique them and let them know what they did wrong, opposed to them making a mistake with the family that's grieving.
From performing dismissals to showing clients products in the selection room, students learn all aspects of the funeral service industry. Minna says after their internship, most of them have solid job leads.
Give students an opportunity to be sure this is what I want to do.
Coming up on Spectrum News, a support group in Kentucky holding a special fishing trip. How it's creating a space for veterans with visual impairments to be one with nature.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
The Big Deal with Errol Lewis, Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
I don't. Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
More storms to keep track of. Hi there, I'm meteorologist Robert Santos. There's a slight risk for some severe storms, mainly for the coastal Carolinas all the way down to Florida. So that includes parts of Georgia, too, on the way down. And then some sweltering heat across southern Florida and even Texas. Although in Florida, we do making things pretty hot, extra hot, I'd say. A lot of 90s and triple digits. Now, for a big part of the week, it was mainly down in South Texas, but we're seeing that moving up now to Dallas and out towards Midland and El Paso. And yes, a little bit of humidity brings those temperatures up a little bit in places like Houston, and they're dealing with the aftermath of the storms that came through over the last few days, and power outages coming at a time when they sure could use their AC. Now down in Florida, storms will be coming across as well, but temperatures will still be in the 90s. So those storms that will be moving across the Florida Panhandle, and then eventually on Sunday, more storms coming here. You wish that it could cool you down. Unfortunately, though, there's a lot of humidity, a lot of this air coming, warm, moist air from the Gulf. And so 90s for temperatures for highs, but when you factor in the humidity, it's going to be feeling over the hundreds in Orlando and Tampa and Miami. Now, where are the warmer than average temperatures? For sure worse. 8 degrees warmer in Dallas, Topeka, St. Louis, and also out towards the southwest. So the numbers there, as I mentioned, lots of 90s for these areas, but feeling like triple digits in places like Florida. Now in the southwest with 90s, that's just the dry heat in that area. Until the monsoon storms start firing up there, it's just the dry heat, no humidity. So places like the Riverwalk in San Antonio, if you're going to be going on Saturday, you'll get a lot of sun, but it's going to be hot. So make sure you're taking care of yourself, giving yourself some extra breaks, staying in the shade and getting in the AC as much as you can. And the heat sticking around all through next week. Look at all those 90s, so about 10 to 12 degrees above average. The PGA Championships in Louisville, well, now we get to dry out. Friday was wet. Drier and warmer temperatures. So for Louisville, you're going to the upper 80s and low 90s for early next week, and then coming back down closer to average from midweek through the rest of in Southern California, where those temperatures look over the next 7 days will be below average, so upper 60s and low 70s.
After being closed for 6 weeks, a section of California's scenic Highway 1 along the famous Big Sur tourist site opened Friday. It comes after a storm caused a rock slide, forcing a chunk of one of the lanes to fall into the ocean. Well, for now, the road will be an alternating one-way traffic lane. Authorities say the gaping hole is expected to be fixed by next year. A special program focused on the outdoors is giving some visually impaired veterans and first responders in Kentucky a new chance for therapy. Spectrum's Sabriel Metcalf introduces us to one veteran joining the support group whose services get people back to nature.
Fish bait is at the end of every, and fishing rods are in hands at Lexington's Jacobson Park. Kathleen Kirsch Gray is a U.S. Reserve vet joining the nonprofit Camp Hero to fish at the lake. Kirsch Gray was deployed 3 times over the 38 years she was in the military. She is currently a leader of the National Association for Black Veterans in Oldham County.
It's just putting out the information so they know what to ask for and what they may be eligible for. Like I said, I'm a disabled veteran myself.
While connecting with others, she is supported by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs Visual Impairment Services team with programs like Camp Hero. Camp Hero helps wounded EMS and vets recover through community outdoors.
She told me about it. She's always calling me and let me know what type of activities they have, and then I'm all for it. You know, I love outdoors. I was raised up on the farm.
The nonprofit was created by military vet and former officer Rocco Bezanyak in 2019 after experiencing a series of life-altering moments.
I was in the Navy, became disabled, medically retired. I took some security jobs, then became a police officer in Shepherdsville, Kentucky. July 3rd, 2016, I was on a traffic stop and got dragged and ran over by a wanted felon, which caused career-ending spinal injuries. And I was starting to deal with mental health issues myself.
Bezanyak says he turned to treatment and resources for EMS in his situation at the time. With no luck, he now provides the natural space and tools to help others recover from physical and mental health challenges.
So if you say, hey, you know, I think you need to go get some help, you need to go talk to someone, go talk to the therapist, they're gonna be like, yeah, no, you know, I fix other people's problems. I can fix my own. But if you say, hey, you wanna go hang out in the outdoors with a bunch of other vets and first responders, have a good time, they're all for it, but little do they know they're actually getting help.
Bezanyak says while it's tough for this group to open up, he wants to continue providing the necessities for it to happen. Reporting in Lexington, Sabrielle Metcalf, Spectrum News.
I'm Sharon Tazwell. Thanks for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
At Spectrum News, we're committed to strengthening the fabric of local communities through our reporting, with stories that inspire and news that matters. Streaming live on your smart TV and connected devices, plus on-demand weather forecasts. It's all there as you step outside with the Spectrum News mobile app, keeping you informed and in the know throughout your day. Spectrum News Plus, local stories, connecting communities. Exclusively for Spectrum customers. Now available on your favorite devices.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country, and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the... Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands?
Yes.
You can become a rocket.
That's why I'm never gonna let you go. Never gonna let you go. Babe, I'm never gonna let you go. No, no, never gonna let you go.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Never gonna let you go.